Hi, Jody. How are you doing today?
Sorry, you scared me to death. It's a good thing you
Oh,
couldn't see me. I jumped.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm focused on what I'm doing.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hey
Hello.
Leslie. Hey Jody. Hey.
How is everybody? Where are you guys? Where are you
I
located?
am
Go ahead.
the French Alps.
No, where are you? Where are you? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I am in the French Alps.
You're in the French Alps. Wow. And Leslie, where are you?
I am in Iowa.
Oh, well, I am just north of Los Angeles. So
Okay.
all I've been watching for 3 days is fires. But luckily,
Oh
I'm in a
no.
place there where there isn't any. Yeah, we've completely burned to the
Oh,
ground in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, I've
um,
seen the news and just like that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's bad. But
yeah.
luckily, I'm in heaven where I live, so it's okay.
That's good. I'm glad you're safe.
Thank you.
Yeah. The most important thing, I guess. Oh.
So, have you ladies taken workshops with Amy before?
Yeah, we did like a 9 month. We're from the first cohort.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
Are you going to do it again?
Um, Me no. I need to concentrate on what I'm doing now. I need to go to all the lessons again and practice because I have been doing pottery only for a year,
Uh-huh.
so that's why. I think
Really,
Leslie's
once you
doing
get done with
it.
the cohort, you can just rewatch everything and like basically take it again. I will participate at some level, but I'm not sure what that will look like yet.
Uh-huh. And Leslie, how long have you been doing ceramics?
So I've been doing ceramics on and off for 6 years, but not consistently or professionally. This last year, 2024, was the first year that I sold any of my work. So
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, that was major um a major thing because I'm just like, very like most artists, very critical of my own work and didn't feel I was ready and I was ready. So it was nice to have that confirmation.
That's awesome. Yep.
How
Well,
about you? How long have you been?
I've been doing ceramics for 40 years.
Okay.
And
That's longer than Amy.
I'm sorry?
That's longer than Amy.
Uh, and I started 40 years ago, but I taught high school from 2000 to 2020, to 2021. I taught at a small private boarding school, and I started a clay school um, with a friend of mine for adults in, I don't remember, it seemed like a million years ago. And so, yeah, but most of my focus has always been on teaching, not on selling. I just started selling again in 2021, 22, when I retired from teaching. But retired is really kind of not really true because now I teach adults one night a week. So.
Awesome.
But for years, teaching was my passion. But I love watching Amy on Instagram. So I thought, well, I'll take advantage of the free studio time and,
Yeah.
because I find her work and her hints and her everything just fascinating. And she's kind of what I've always wanted to be, which is a production potter.
Awesome. Yeah, she's also just like an awesome energy
Right.
to be in your circle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just her pottery skills, but she's just an amazing person and human being, you know, like once you get to know her, it's pretty spectacular, you know, the journey is different. It's not like with any other teacher, I would assume.
Well, and the other part is that, I mean, not only does she have a lot to offer, but her generosity is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what the pottery community should be. Are you guys part of any guilds or any groups?
Oh, yeah, all of them until they kick you out.
No, I meant like we have a Ventura Potters Guild. And so I'm on the board of our guild, and we have a gallery, and we have meetings, and we have workshops. We just have a wonderful ceramic community.
I don't
So,
know that there's anything like that locally for me, but
Mm.
there's like a group that meets up once a month that I go to. It's not like really a guild or anything that you would say you belong to, but it's just a group of potters at all different levels.
Uh-huh. Well, that's
I
nice.
belong to association because I am like, I don't know how it works in the US, but here in in my small area in the French Alps, I belong to association. We meet sometimes, and I am the only potter in the valley. So
Oh, wow. That's tough.
no, it's good.
Do you ever travel to take workshops or anything? Or do you do everything online?
No. Basically, I started. Well, I
Let's unpause the recording and welcome everybody. It's great to have some people here, some familiar faces and lots of new faces to me. A lot of familiar names, but new faces, which is exciting. People who I've chatted with or seen on social media. So this is called a community open studio, and they are very, very varied, very varied. They can look sometimes like a lot of wet clay work and a lot of questions and demos and me coaching, me watching you work. They can also look like this, a bunch of faces and Zoom screens talking. And I expect that today will be mostly that. But if people have questions from yesterday's workshop, I want to kind of prioritize those questions. And also, if you have questions about my program, I also want to prioritize those if you're considering maybe signing up either for the cohort or the self-guided program. And lucky for us, we have a handful of people who have been through my program, signing in now or already here. And they're probably better than me at answering some of your questions if you have questions about the actual cohort. It was like really, at least for me, hi Lisa, I haven't seen Lisa in a long time. Miss you. Yeah, it was just one of the most special experiences of my life, and I've said that lots of times. So, yeah, where should we start? If you're a little shy to speak, you can put questions in the chat. But it's kind of an open space for all of us. So, most of you probably came here for something. So, I bet there's a question or a comment or anything out there. And you don't have to raise hands or anything like that. Just unmute and go for it.
They are shy.
Yeah, you won't be for long. Somehow, really, honestly, like it's just the best to cultivate this openness in ourselves where we feel like we can just jump in and bring ourselves because we're all so valuable. Everything that each of you has to share, every little question, every little silly thing, everything is so valuable for a group. Because something here, I'll give you a little bit of a theory before we get started, a little group theory, which is that there are thoughts and ideas and feelings that want to come through any group. And one of us is the most open channel for that thought or feeling to come through. And if you can feel safe and free enough to open yourself up to share the thing that feels like it wants to come through you, it's a relief for the group because it's not only yours, you just happen to be the most open channel. So So if you're having a thought or a feeling or a question or anything, somebody else in the group is also having it. And that's why it's a release. It's usually many people. Tanya definitely has things to say. Do you want to share something? You've unmuted several times. So,
I'm so sorry. All of the audio went off on here. So I'm like, come on, work. So I'm on my phone now. Good morning,
oh,
everybody. I didn't hear any of
hi.
that.
Hi. Yeah, we get to say hi and where we're from. That might be a little icebreaker kind of feeling thing. Anybody want to share?
Oh,
Where are you from, Tanya? Since you're here.
awesome. I'm Tanya. I'm from Arizona originally, but Maui is home.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Cool. Where in Maui?
So we live on the North Shore in Haiku. So
Perfect. We're all coming.
yes, please. No, that's my dream.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite places on earth, Paia and Haiku. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Do you have a pottery studio there?
I do. So it's my Costco tent, and we just built a kiln room. So
Nice. Wow.
mhm.
Wow. Have we talked before?
I
Like,
think we just introduced ourselves, and then but we haven't like this is our official meeting. Hello.
hi. Because somebody was
Yeah.
thinking about applying to my program last year, and I think she was
That
from
was
Maui. That was
yeah,
you?
me.
What's your
Yeah.
handle?
Sea
Your
pony.
Sea
Sea
Pony,
pony pottery.
exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool connection. I felt like there was something really cool there. Yeah. So
Yeah, no,
I
I would
wanna-
love. No, no, my dream is to. I have a thing for the buses, so I'd like to make it into like a place where I can have people come out and work for however long and do pottery with me out here.
nice, nice. I definitely will get in touch with, if I'm coming, I gotta remember you and
Yeah,
come
for
and
sure.
visit you. I'd love to come see your scene there. I
Yeah,
went to a really cool community studio in Makawao. Have you been there?
the hui nui ya.
I don't know. That's the name of it? Or that's where it
Well, so
is?
was it in Makalao town or was it like just below the town?
Maybe it was below the town. Yeah, on the
There,
way.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. It's pretty neat. It used to be a super magical place. It was like all old horse barns, and now it's all
Yes.
new. It's nice too, but
Oh,
it was
oh,
like it's shifted and,
yeah, that's when I was there, when it was super magical.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
like my dream studio. It's what I always think of when I think of like the perfect studio. So,
hmm.
hi,
Yay!
Irene. Yay. Yeah, yeah. Great to meet you.
Good to meet you officially.
So Amy,
Yeah.
I have a
Hi.
question
Yeah, yeah.
about yesterday when you were talking about your footer tool.
Yes.
And I understand how to cut it the way you showed me, but I don't understand. Do you start on the grinding wheel? What is that thing called?
The bench grinder?
Yeah, the bench grinder. Do you start with a knife just on that?
Yes. So if I had let's say this is can you see me? Because I can't see myself. Oh yeah, there I am. Oh, so if this is the disc, the bench grinding
Yes.
disc, the wheel that
Yes.
spins, let me show you. I'm gonna say, this is my knife, my kitchen knife. I would put it at an angle on on one of the edges and cut an
Okay.
angle, and that's my first cut.
Okay, great.
Okay, so that
Yes.
makes an angle because I want to be able to get underneath a pot. I don't want a
Yes.
flat wall. So that
Yes.
makes an angle. And then I'd go into the tip because it's going to make a point on this side.
Okay.
Go into the tip and cut a little, foot
Yes.
profile.
Yes. A little foot
So
thing.
here's something that I didn't say yesterday that I think is a really good idea is get a bunch of old credit cards or hotel card keys, room keys,
Yes.
and try some different shapes and they'll
Oh,
work fine. They'll work fine, but
okay.
they're not as good as metal.
Sure,
But that'll
sure.
give you a sense of the exact shape and profile you want because I was actually using one for years that created a foot that had kind of a point and
Okay.
those feet chipped like crazy. Because
Oh,
I had
so
too much
interesting.
of a V and my
Yep.
feet were always chipping, little
Oh,
pieces. So now I make sure that it's really rounded at the bottom. So I'm not
right.
creating a point at the bottom of my foot. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
let me show you some of the credit cards, just
Vas-y,
just so
fais
you
voir
can
ta credit
see.
card.
They're really fun to make, and let me see. Here's one.
On peut la faire plus grande, hein. Comment on l'a fait pour faire la faire plus grande elle?
Ooh, little français. Bonjour,
Fiancé.
bonjour. So here I have one and I cut it at an angle, and out of that I can make probably actually 6
Really?
because I have a foot here that I can
Yeah.
use. I have a foot here, and then I could also, well, that was a 90-degree angle, so I wouldn't do that one. But the other piece that was also cut that used to be here is a whole other opportunity. So out of one card, you can get 4 different feet to experiment with. And my favorite, I showed yesterday, it's still dirty, is the double. That was like a new thing, and I actually normally use the other side of the knife that has the handle. But I was like, hey, I could use this one too. It's the other part that like usually I would throw away, and this became my favorite one with the double. So
Love
whenever I especially throw off the hump, I make little things with knobs off the hump, and it's really nice to be able to actually grab something that has a knob. So the height of this gave me like height where you can actually grab something, whereas the one little thing is like you had to get your fingers in there. So yeah, I've gone to this.
Very good.
Yes, let me know
Love
how it goes.
I have one more question, if you don't
Great.
mind.
Not at all.
My 11-year-old granddaughter is very interested in pottery and learning, and throwing became a big thing recently.
Uh-huh.
Would I teach her your method straight from the gate?
Sure, why not?
I don't know. I think
Don't have to
that's what I
unlearn
should do
anything.
too.
What?
Okay. I'll have to perfect it myself first, or at least get it myself.
Or
So
learn together, you know?
yeah.
Sometimes, you know, younger hands might be able to be a little bit more, you know, just get it, or I don't
Oh,
know.
that'll be great.
Yeah,
Or
no
would
reason
be.
to think she can't get it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you again.
Sure,
Now
yeah,
someone else
totally.
can talk.
Okay, who's next? There's some chats here.
There were.
Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Quick question. You
Sure.
mentioned a specific stool that you used yesterday, which
Yeah.
I'm in the need of.
Uh-huh.
Using a piano bench right now, which
Oh,
is not
no.
very good.
Terrible.
If you could just tell us a little bit more about that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's the adjustable stool. I got it from Clay King Ceramics. I think I bought it about a year ago, and it was expensive. Like for me, a $60 stool used to be expensive, but now I've started investing in myself. So this one was closer to 200. You might be able to, I also have these little roll around stools that we got at Harbor Freight. And if you're like up against a wall or somewhere that your stool isn't going to be moving, if your seat's up against a wall, I think you could use one of those, and they're adjustable also. And that was only like $15 or something like that. So the main thing is that it's stable and adjustable. And some people don't have a hard time with the wheels on the bottom, but I do. This one's supposed to be ergonomic, like it has just the lowest back. I'll show it to you. It doesn't go very high or low. There's kind of a slight range. Here's I can't see myself very well, but here's my stool. And it just doesn't go up and down that much. And I have well, now my wheel's on the ground, but anyway, it's good to kind of see what the height is, sit at your wheel and notice like what would be your ideal range. Take that measurement and then make sure that the stool is going to work for you, because it would suck to invest so much in a stool and then have it not be great. But Clay King is pretty great. And I'm guessing that this is pretty universal for potters. Gotta sneak out of here.
Thank you.
Sure. Uh-oh. There we go.
Nice. I've got the Shimpo brand, and it does the same. You can adjust every single leg. The
Shimpo?
Shimpo stool, yeah.
And you can reduce every leg independently, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh,
My front legs are lower and the back legs are higher.
That's cool. So it tips you a little bit and
Yeah, that's
and that's more
awesome.
comfortable maybe on your back, or is that
Yeah,
the idea?
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And obviously you've got the block, a wooden block under your foot. So, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, but it's changed. It's honestly, it's awesome.
Cool. Shimpo stool. I think I need to put that down on a list for resources. That's really interesting. Oh my gosh, I have so many lists. Okay, here we go.
That's
Thanks,
what kind of
Melanie.
tools they use at my local pottery studio, art center,
Uh-huh.
is the kind that she's talking about. I have seen them also available in a Uline catalog. I don't know if they're cheaper, but might be something worth looking into if you are interested in that kind of stool.
Leslie, is it also a Shimpo stool or it's the same kind of stool that you
No,
line?
it is the same as far as it adjusts each leg, but it is not the same brand.
Okay, cool. I
I've
love
got a
finding these
Shimpo
things.
stool right here if anybody.
Oh,
Yeah, Joan's
There you go.
showing.
oh, Joan's got it. Let's spotlight Joan. Come on. Spotlight. There we go.
So
Hey.
oh,
Hi.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's I'm 5'11", so and I have lower back issues, so this is great because I usually keep my front lower than my back.
That
And I
looks like a
haven't
tall
gotten so far
stool.
as to mark exactly which holes I like the most.
Oh, nice. Now I see it, the adjustable part. Cool.
Yeah, so it's quite adjustable too.
Oh, yes. How much did that
So-
stool cost?
I bought it secondhand with my wheel. I think it goes for about $100.
Okay.
Retail. So, but I got my wheel and my stool secondhand. So, and you might be able to find them secondhand.
Almost 200 euros here in France.
200?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Oh,
how
wow.
79, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it looks great. That looks nice, and I like the cushy seat.
It's fabulous.
It
They
looks really
upgraded in our
comfy.
studio, and I terrorize people by changing the height on them, and then they come in and they're. But anyway, but I do have a quick question, and this might be better for a workshop than for this forum. But Amy, I do notice that when you, well, first of all, thank you. I'm excited to be here. And I'm fangirling a little bit right now. And by the way, I'm in Monterey, so I'm right down the way from
Oh,
you.
cool.
So yeah, which is great.
Great.
But I did notice that when you open up your piece, your puck originally,
Mhm.
it gets really wide.
Yeah.
But then as
Okay.
you're growing it, you make this kind of conical shape, and somehow you manage to get that bottom not to be so wide. Explain that to me, just because, if you can, just because I've been trying to make tall pieces,
Mhm.
and I struggle with how wide do I need to be on the bottom and the proportion and all of that. So
Mhm. So you weren't at the workshop yesterday, were you?
no, I couldn't
Okay.
make it. My daughter was coming up from LA, so
That's
she's
okay,
safe
that's
and sound,
okay.
thankfully.
So I can't go all the way into it, but I can give you
Sure.
kind of the basics. So
Yeah.
like, if you kind of imagine just with geometry, that we have a shape like this.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to fold this part up, right? I'm going to go underneath the point of this triangle here, and I'm just going to fold it up, right? So that instantly gives you height. So it's
Right.
just clay that you don't have to pull. You're kind of pushing it into the wall, making it become the wall. And I finished the bottom. So the bottom is at the thickness that I want it to be at the end. Whatever thickness I want, that's done from the very beginning. And then I'm just basically just incorporating that clay from below into the wall. And it's just, for me, a really easy way to dig under, get a whole lot of clay, bring it up. And what I do is I finish the rim from the beginning. My first pull, the rim is set, and then all I'm doing is bringing the foot underneath, bringing
Got
the
it.
base underneath, and that kind of pushes the height up in a way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I just find it an easy way to throw. Sometimes if I have a lot of clay, I'll use a sponge on that first pull just to help me really effortlessly move the clay.
Okay, great. I'll be practicing that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you can, I think we're gonna make the workshop available for a short period of time or maybe indefinitely, actually. But I would watch the workshop because for those of you who are there, I think you'd agree, I gave like a ton of tips and really valuable, and I think it's really worth it to get them. And I went over that first poll quite a bit.
How do we access that?
So we'll be sending something out. If you're on my email list,
Yes.
you'll get it.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's going to be either on my website or Zippera's website or both of our websites. So
Okay.
yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question.
So Amy, I have another question.
Okay, great.
Yesterday you talked about using the three fingers. I don't know exactly
Constellation
how
of
you did
fingers.
it.
Yeah. I call it
Constellation of fingers.
Yeah.
And you use that when you dig under to raise the wall?
Yeah, I'm pretty much using it in every pull. So
Okay, and you
instead of
said you went halfway through the first digit.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so
about
you-
half.
How do you, I guess you just do it. Which part of your thumb is going to be, I guess your hand is somewhat upside down
Uh-huh.
and the finger sticks out and
And your
okay.
thumb. So
Just-
I'm pulling kind of like this. And if this is let me get this. If this is my pot,
Yes.
my thumb is against
Okay.
glass.
Okay.
And my
Yes.
finger is under here. So
Okay.
I'm pulling like that. Can you see that?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm
That'll
pulling.
help me.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I wish we had some see-through clay. It would make it so much easier to show these things.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to invent that.
That would be different.
Yeah. Okay, what else? What else? I see. Okay, I'm just looking through the comments.
I have a question if
Great.
nobody else is going to jump in.
Please, please. Hi.
Hi, I'm Everett. I'm calling from Humboldt County, California. My question is in relation to, I've heard you talk about your non-toxic glaze recipes that you use.
Yeah.
I wonder if you ever share like what to avoid or what like the safe list of ingredients is to work with, and then kind of go from there of building out your own glazes.
You know, I've stayed away from like kind of the obvious ones like barium, and I don't use strontium. I don't know if it just doesn't sound right to me. So, and I haven't needed it. And I don't use, what else is there that I don't use? I haven't used much manganese, but recently on For Flux's Sake, if you guys don't listen to that podcast, you must listen to For Flux's Sake if you're at all interested in glaze and clay chemistry. But they kind of debunked the myth around manganese. So manganese is back on the dock for me now if I want to use it. Yeah, so the ones that I do use are things like iron and copper and cobalt and what else? Rutile. You know, most of them are just, you know, I'm careful with it. I clean my hands off after when I'm glazing. I make sure to keep my hands relatively clean. I mostly don't just dip my hand into a bucket, especially if I have an open cut. Yeah, but I'm not the best person to ask about this. I've just used basically stable glazes that have kind of familiar oxides in them, and I haven't used any stains. Yeah. So I don't know all that much about it, but I feel really safe and good about the oxides I use.
Yeah, that's great. I would like that for my own glazes too.
Yeah. Is there anything that you're using that you're concerned about?
Just was more, curious what you considered, your no-goes, and then also kind of how you have over time developed your glazes too. Like if you slowly were weeding things out, or did you start with commercial glazes and then tweak them yourself, or?
No, I started with, I started at Cone 10, and I was partnered with somebody who knew a lot more than me. So we were just using his glazes. And then when I went out on my own, I basically, it was kind of like when the internet was just starting. So I just like searched, I used the clay art threads, the old clay art threads, and I just grabbed as many recipes as I could and I tested them. And I was just testing zillions, you know, I was doing a lot of testing back like a long time ago. And from there, did have to tweak some recipes, you know, like if I found that they were leaching or, you know, if it was too, if it was under fired or whatever. So I made slight adjustments. And then I also started figuring out that when I wet combined my glazes, I could get a third glaze that was often better than the original two or very different if in different proportions. So I started playing with wet mixing to get brand new, and then I simplified the recipes down, you know, instead of having 20 different materials in one glaze, I figured out how to like whittle it down to the, you know, to combine some of them.
Oh, very cool.
And now, but let me just say the end of it. But since I did my cohort last year, I really wanted to like actually have some knowledge, not just like, oh, I've got these 20 recipes, you know, but like actually understand glaze chemistry. So I took this liner glaze that I've been using forever, and our whole cohort, anybody who was interested in glaze chemistry, started practicing with it and playing with it. And we're still doing that. Actually, we're like still a group of people who are working on glaze development and trying to understand flaws and how to fix them. So I'm at the beginning of my real glaze chemistry journey, even though I've been mixing my own glazes for 30 years. So
I have something to share on this subject. This is an article, I don't know if you can see what it says.
yeah,
It's
artists
written
beware.
by Michael McCann, PhD, and it goes through and it talks about the hazards, and then it talks about all the different zinc oxide, wollastonite, all the different chemicals. So that might be something to look up.
Would you put the name of that in the chat for us?
Yes,
Thanks, Shara.
yes. I also have another one. It's beat up. I'm not sure if I can find the name of who did this one. I'll add it also.
My
It's well used.
I used Georgie's Clay Company for a long time, and they had the great thing, I don't know what to call it, the great service of putting on the packages of materials the
Right?
hazard levels, right? It would say
Oh,
like
yeah.
skin on a scale of 2 to 4, you know, skin 1, inhalation 2, you know, so you knew what to like be careful with
Yeah.
with skin
Yeah,
absorption or
that's a
breathing.
great way.
Yeah, that was really helpful for me to kind of get to know the materials and how
And
dangerous.
I wonder if I got this one from Georgie's because it does the same. It says alumina oxide, then it says skin, inhalation, ingestion,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and then plus or minus or so I'll try to find the author of that one. But yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of these materials like would be dangerous if you like breathed in a lungful, but if you you know, fire it and then it's preserved inside a glaze, it's like
Exactly.
totally non-toxic at that point, you
Yeah.
know, but you have to be careful when you're actually using it. Yeah.
Right.
And others you don't want to
And
leach into.
that's why we have respirators and
Yeah.
gloves.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Everett, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure, great.
Can I just ask a quick question as a
Please.
follow-up?
Yeah.
Do most people use gloves or respirators when they're glazing?
I don't.
No, I don't.
I mean, I don't know about most people. There's definitely people out there who have developed like neurological problems who will tell you like, please use your respirator, use your gloves, you know. That's sometimes if I sound a little defensive about my non-toxic glazes, it's because of that often I'll get, you know, this kind of barrage of people saying that what I should be doing. And I think, you know, we all have different constitutions and we have to kind of get a sense of, you know, is this dangerous for me or not? So if you do
Yes.
have a very sensitive constitution, I would say, yeah, I use gloves wear respirators, especially if you're doing any kind of sanding. If I'm sanding, I either am outside or holding my breath. I'm very good at holding my breath, or wearing a respirator. Yeah, I try to be really careful with that.
Or when
I
you're
wear the respirator.
mixing dry glazes.
Yeah.
You're doing it then.
Definitely mixing dry glazes, 1,000%. You need a respirator for that. Yeah, thanks, Jan.
I use gloves when I glaze because my skin is really dry. I live here in the Midwest, and the Midwest winters are really harsh. And so I'd rather have my skin intact so that I can throw, because I don't want to wear gloves when I throw. So I'm one of those that I wear gloves when I glaze.
Great. See, isn't that so cool that like one person it doesn't bother at all and somebody else is like, well, I don't like the way it feels, or it hurts my hands. It's kind of like self sorting in that way. Thanks, Irene. I just want to welcome and highlight some of the people who were in the first cohort. Irene, Becca is here, Lisa Binney, Magdalena, Leslie, Melissa. Thank you guys for coming. I just really appreciate that you're here, and sorry if I missed anybody. I'm just quickly looking through.
We were just curious to see the newbies.
What?
We were just curious to see the newbies.
And I wanted you here. I mean, I invited them to come because they have that experience. I don't know if any of you wants to say anything about what it was like for you to be in the cohort, but the floor is open for those comments too.
I'm new to your site. I'm kind of like a fangirl.
Oh gosh.
I follow you incessantly on Instagram,
Oh my God.
and I constantly comment because I'm always thanking you because some of the things that I've been potting for 40 years. I started in the 80s.
Wow.
And I started as a production potter, not quite at your level, where I worked with one potter and I threw for him, and he then took those pieces and made them his own. And I did it for 20 years. He taught me ceramics, basically.
Wow.
I went on to find that my real passion was teaching, so I taught high school ceramics for 20 years. I'm still teaching adults after I've retired. But the one thing I wanted to say that I use every time I throw is exhaling.
Good. Yes. That's the most important.
That was, to me, I hate to say it, but to me, that was like life changing. I even went in one day. My husband has no interest in doing ceramics. He loves my work, but he's not interested in the process really at all. And I went in and I said, I learned something today that I've started using, and I cannot believe that it took me 40 years to figure this out. So I want to say again, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I know it's a game changer, and in and out of the studio too, not just with your pulls, but I talked about this yesterday in the workshop. Like, if you ever get a little clumsy when you put a pot down, put it on the shelf, or for me, if I have a bone dry pot and I'm trying to get it into a tight space, if I'm not exhaling, chances are good that I'm going to break that pot. So I use it for everything precision, everything.
Oh, I have started as well, and I just wanted to tell you that.
Thanks, Jody. I don't know why you hate to say it, but because I think it's awesome. I think it's totally awesome. And me, I've also been making pots for about 36 years, and I hope that I'm still learning things that blow my mind, I hope that I'm not done learning.
Well,
So.
I think that's the beauty of ceramics, is it's always evolving, and
Yes.
no one, people say, well, I'm a master. No, you could never be a master. There's always going to be learning to do.
Yeah, you might be a
You'll
master
never
of what you
be
do,
master.
but it's never over. Yeah, that's why I love
right.
pottery. You can always throw one more pound on that wheel. You can always throw it a little bit taller, a little bit wider, or just do something new that you've never done before. I mean, it really is infinite.
Yeah.
So, yeah, super cool.
So
Aren't we
thank
all
you
so
for being
smart for
so
being potters?
generous.
I want to add something.
Hi, Becca.
I'd like to add something on that note.
Great.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Becca. I'm one of Amy's previous. Hi, Magdalena. Hi, guys. Melissa.
Cohortian.
And all you others that are talking about the things that you will learn. I don't know if many of you are going to join the 9-month intense cohort or not, but I also have been a potter for many years. I think 18 or maybe 20 now. I lose track, but I really changed so many things that I was doing. The breathing clearly really helped me, but like even the way that Amy opens, the way she pulls her or lifts her walls up, I feel like I'm getting a whole new second life in my work because it's feeling so much better.
Yeah.
And it did not at first. And I will promise you guys that claw pull, that lift is, you're gonna not want to do it. But then if you do it, you're gonna love it. And that's all I can say. And also the friendships that you'll make and the lifetime support.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say, everyone, I started doing pottery in January last year, and when I found out Amy's cohort, I thought it's absolutely not for me because it's too early because I can't do anything yet. And she was like, no, no, you need to join in. It's gonna be fine. And it's been the best thing I've ever did. Like Becca said, we all learned so much. I think it was probably easier for me because I didn't have the habits of my own style yet. So I learned from Amy like straight away. But I mean, the experience, the friendship we got out of it, the skills I gained, people cannot believe me now that I've been doing this for 1 year. They say it's not possible, you're making this up. I said, well, I did it with Amy. So yeah, and the friendship we got, it's like, I think the most surprising thing was the connection between all of us. And you're not really learning just from Amy, you're learning from everybody else. And we brought in so many things in our lives, and it's like, I couldn't praise it enough, honestly.
Yeah.
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 It's true. It was a really wild thing that happened, kind of what's it called? The synergy among us and the trust and the support and yeah, just the most beautiful thing. We're all so close. We know each other so well. It's amazing that you can do that through the internet, through a Zoom experience. But yeah, we're
Yeah, Amy.
lifelong friends, all of us. We're like lifelong family. Hi, Lisa. Hi.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I'd echo that I had been doing pottery for a long time. And there's lots of different people who came from, we're all around the world and have all different strengths and areas that we do things with. But it was that sort of learning from one another. It really felt like a community. And I was very worried about how it would work online. But it really did. It really worked online. It really, and like Magdalena and Rebecca were saying, I'd echo the sort of it's little things that people were saying then about your stool, how I'm going to sit there, or actually my back's hurting or my shoulder's hurting. Have you tried this? And then Amy would watch you and would say, oh, hang on a second. Or even somebody else on the cohort would say, had you noticed, so there was a few physios on the cohort, and they're like, had you noticed that you kind of lower your shoulder when you do this, or had you noticed that? And then also people had different interests in terms of glaze. I'm really into my glazing, so that was a really big thing for me. But then I sort of adjusted, and we all learned from one another with that as well. So I think it's nice to have a community. Particularly, it can be quite lonely if you're on your own in a studio and you're not in a community studio, or but just I just wanted to echo that sort of really, that almost every little thing that you can think of that you want to ask somebody about pottery, if you join a cohort of like-minded people, you will not only learn about pottery and make friends and all the rest of it, but you'll just learn so much about, you can, with anything that can pop into your mind that you could possibly think of, there'll be somebody who will have some knowledge, in a group of people. There will be, and so willing to help you with that. And then Amy sort of guides us all through as well. So it's a really incredible experience. And I think if anybody's thinking about it, I'm not being paid by Amy, by the way. I just got so much out of it. I just think it's you know, even if you just popping on to, you know, do a self-guided thing or anything like that, I just, you know, if you were in any doubt or you're going to try it out, it's just been life-changing. I don't think that's an exaggeration. So I just wanted to add that, really.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that Amy can see everything and anything, because I was very worried about the online class. How is she gonna do that via screen? And I'm in the middle of nowhere, and I was very worried about the reception, but it was good. But I remember one time at the very beginning when I was learning the first pool, Amy said something to me. Okay, Magdalena, stop. You see your left hand and your pinky and the finger. I'm like, oh my God, how can she see that? Like, she just saw every single detail, and she could guide me through that screen to perfection, you know. So that was amazing. That was my big worry. How are we gonna do this over the screen, you know? When you cannot watch over me, but she actually can.
Can
Yeah. Oh,
can
sorry. Go ahead, Irene. Go ahead.
I add that it's a pottery cohort, it's a pottery apprenticeship, but actually even more than pottery, it's actually so much more. They're like life tips that Amy would give us, like her wisdom and all of that. And so it's really, really practical, like things that you would not only apply to pottery, but like kind of to your whole person well-being. I think that was one of my biggest takeaways. And I think learning from the cohort that when you do pottery, you know, a lot of times we compartmentalize our lives, like, oh, it's a hobby, it's a side gig, it's a job. But I think just learning a way, like kind of the way of pottery, how to incorporate that into our lives, just into our whole personhood. And, you know, I think probably Amy talked about maybe in the workshop, like how to throw while caring for your body. And so that's just one of the very practical tips that she gave us. And so this is kind of a taste. I mean, like what you're seeing right now and just how Amy is. Yeah, she's open. She's so generous. And yeah, really everything. It was so open. You ask anything, she answers. She just gives and gives and gives. So it's definitely well worth it.
Well, stop. They're gonna think she paid us.
I will say,
I know.
I remember one day when I told you guys, like, you might think this is just one of the things that I do with my life, but like, this is my main thing. Like, I care so much about my cohort and my students getting everything they possibly can. And I want to show up for you guys like 1,000%. And it really was the most important thing. Just to be there for you. I mean, I couldn't make you learn something. You'd had to want to learn. You had to show up in the studio. You had to ask me questions or whatever. You had to schedule your one-on-ones or whatever. But yeah, I was totally there for it. I loved every second of
I
it.
think the biggest worry Amy had was, am I giving you guys enough time? Yeah.
Like enough of my time?
Yes, yeah. You were always worried if are we getting enough of your time? Like, how can I help you? How can I make you better? How can I
do this better? Because it was the first time for me too. So, you know, I didn't, yeah.
So I have a question, Amy,
Great,
or
great.
to all of you. I came on this call. I'm also like a fangirl. I met you I met you in Santa Cruz in September at the big fair down
At Capitola?
in Capitola.
Oh, cool.
And I just like fell in love with your work. I was like, oh my God, this is an amazing potter. And we chatted, and you chatted with 1 million people that day. And you said, well, you can study with me online. I'm like, what? So I've been kind of following along since, but I've only been.
I remember writing down my information
Yes,
for you. Yeah.
That's right. You did. So I was with my niece, who's also my best friend. So I'm just a new potter. I mean, I've only been doing this since COVID, really. And I have a group here, which I feel really grateful for, a group to study with. But most of them have been potters for like 20 years and 30 years and 40 years. And so I'm trying to just learn basics, you know, and I have a full studio here in my house, in my basement. I'm really, really lucky. I have my wheel, I have a kiln. I I guess I'm curious about this open studio concept. Like I couldn't imagine what is that. And I'm wondering like, oh, is this it? We come together and you chat and ask questions. Like, is that what the open studio is? Because I don't think I'm ready for the intensive cohort. I don't have the skills yet. And I'm not sure about the time. So I was thinking about the self-paced one so that I could just go along. But then I'm like, but open studio, I don't get what, like, is this it? Am I watching what open studio is? So that's why I came on the call.
This is a different type of open studio, and every once in a while we'd have, like Magdalena would be sick in bed with a headache, and somebody else would be on their living room couch with a cup of tea, and somebody else would be like working but I couldn't see them, and people would show up with more kind of business-like questions or things that they didn't have to actually be working. But usually with people in the self-paced program, they show up with a camera set up near their wheel, either a computer or a phone on a tripod, and they're working and I'm coaching them. So I'm doing active, like watching them, like Magdalena was saying, I can see what you need, I can usually tell, where you're at and where you need to be focusing. And so I'm just kind of there like a teacher standing in front of your wheel, giving you feedback and making suggestions and trying to help you get to the next level. So that's kind of that's a great function of an open studio. Today we have 34 people here. I would have to, if everybody wanted to be on their wheel today, I would have to say like, okay, let's spin a pen to figure out who gets coached or who wants coaching or and often just to watch somebody else be coached, you learn something about yourself. So that's what open studios really are. It's kind of like, it's like a bunch of potters hanging out in a pottery studio, but except that we're online. And it can get really, I think that the best ones are when we're actually working. I'm doing a demo. You might say like, I'm still not getting that claw pull. Can you show me? Can you demonstrate it for me? Or can you watch me do it? And so where am I going wrong? And I might make some suggestions. Use more clay, or, like, are you breathing? I can usually tell if somebody's not doing the breath or I can see, if you're imbalanced or tight somewhere in your body. So that's the best, is if I can kind of help nurture you to the next step. And both of the cohorts get lifetime access to the videos. So most of the people who graduated my cohort said, I'm just going to go back to day one and watch it all over again and just take myself through the program again. And the self-guided students go real slow, usually. Most of them go really slowly. And
I remember I was doing pottery for 3 months when I joined, so I don't think you said you're not ready. I think you've done it for 4 years. I think you're ready.
I was going to say, some people who started during COVID have already written books and they're teaching and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's all, we have so much self-judgment and self-criticism. That's like our worst enemy, is our inner critic. And that's what I start all my students with, is my inner critic workshop. And I'll just give that all to you guys today. Actually, it's not you don't have to be a student to do that. Yeah, it's great. It's called externalizing the inner critic. And so what we don't want is this little voice inside ourselves that's masquerading as us, telling us that we're bad. And then we think, I think I'm bad, or I think I suck, or anything like that. We want it to be an external voice that we can kind of fight with and say like, no, I'm not, because the part of us that gets criticized almost never speaks up for itself. It's just kind of like, okay, sorry, I'll try. I suck. It just believes the inner critic. So, that's my biggest goal in life, is to help people get over that. What's going on there, Magdalena? What was that?
My dog was barking and I had the door open, so I just let her back in.
Okay, hold on. Magdalena, what were you just showing us with your face on there?
Do you remember
Oh, that's your inner critic. Why does your inner critic look so much like you?
That was, because it wasn't a monster. It was just me in my own head. And she was saying, you could have done that better, no? So
Oh,
she's very quiet now. She's still there on the shelf, but she's very quiet now.
you know how people like draw funny mustaches on people's faces, like they like deface pictures? If I were you, I would deface that inner critic and not make her look anything like you. You don't want the inner critic to look anything like you. You want to disidentify from it. So I think she needs a little bit of graffiti or something like that.
All right.
Anyway, I'm going to put it in the chat, the workshop. It's just a YouTube workshop that I taught many years ago as a therapist. So let's see here. Oh, here it is. Okay.
Also add, in response to Janet, what you're saying. Yeah, we all came from different skill levels, and inside of the cohort, there was no competition. It was just all encouragement and support. And so I would say, just jump in. Like, don't be afraid to fail. I feel like, for me at least, personally, just not being afraid to fail, trying things over and over again. Like, I couldn't have found a better community, a better supportive environment. And so, yeah, I think one of the best things about this cohort was, yeah, there was no competition. There was no comparison. There's no criticism of anyone. And that atmosphere Amy fostered. And so I would say, don't be afraid. I'm here at Open Studio just to see everyone. I mean, I miss you guys. So yeah.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. Thanks for coming, Irene.
I don't want to take away from your open studio, but when we were in COVID, we all signed up for online ceramic classes, like a hand-built class. And when the colleges decided they no longer would support online ceramic classes because a lot of people didn't have couldn't get to studios where they could fire or actually produce clay, we still learned a ton. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter. But the fact is, those people that I was in an online class with decided, and the teacher who was teaching it through the college decided, that if we paid for her Zoom, her Zoom fees, she would continue to meet with us once a month. And every month we would do a challenge, and we would sit for 2 hours and just talk about clay and glazes or projects we wanted to do. And so as lovely as Amy's is, if you don't have that opportunity or you want to continue, find your own cohort. I mean, it's easy to do. And I think if we learned anything from COVID, it was that we can learn from everybody around the world, because we can connect now, and because we see each other on cameras, we actually have an actual connection to these people. And so I have a connection to people that don't live in my neighborhood but are ceramicists that I totally meet with every month. And it's more important just because we're friends, not because, clay brought us together, but it doesn't have to be the only part of your cohort, so to speak, or subject of your cohort. My little 2 cents.
Yeah. Nice.
I have a question about the cohort, because I started filling out the application and then I got intimidated by I got worried about the time commitment and also the accessibility to a full studio, because as you can see, I'm kept company with the car. And lots of other junk. So I have a wheel. I've got, half a studio. I don't have a kiln. I don't have any more than a few glazes. And so I'm participating in classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at our local community college. And sometimes I take a summer class through the town. So I guess question number 1 is to remind me what the time commitment is. And question number 2 would be, if I don't have a full studio at my disposal the entire time, how much is that going to hobble me?
So we had one person in our cohort, Donna, I don't think she's here, but she just had one, I think, 25-pound bag of clay that she worked with for about 6 months. She was outside with the chickens. She had no kiln. She just had water and a wheel and one bag of clay. And she decided to go for it. She knew that by the end of the cohort, she would be moving into a place that had a studio. And she just, even after the cohort ended, she got her kiln hooked up. So she had amassed all of this greenware. And then so finally she has her first bisque pots now. So just to say, it's up to you, you know, it's like if you wouldn't want to, what I really have to teach, like my kind of superpower as a potter is wheel throwing stuff. So all the other parts, I can teach. I can teach you the way that I fire, the way that I glaze, you know, my techniques and all that. But it's not the highlight of the cohort. The highlight is wet work on the wheel, you know, trimming,
Okay.
throwing and trimming. And so, and altering. So I don't think you need any more than that. But as far as a time commitment goes, I would say if you can't put 10 hours a week into being a potter, then it's probably not worth it. I think Becca had that realization. I think Becca decided that she needed 20. So that's going to be individual for people, like how many hours. The actual class is just 2 hours. And then open studios are optional. So, you know, I'd say about like a third to a half of the class would usually come to open studios at any given time. We usually had a smaller group because people had regular jobs. And I teach my classes on the weekend and open studios during the week. And
Okay.
the cohort's really made to, the apprenticeship is really made to give you like a foundation for the rest of your life to be a really good potter, you know, to be able to like make the pots. And everything else, I feel like, you know, you can learn a little bit from here and a little bit from there. And, but there's, you know, not that there's only one way to be a good potter, but wheel throwing, you know, like, you know, that it's a specific skill set. And it's for me, it's the foundation of everything. So that's what I learned in my apprenticeship. I was just sitting at the wheel for 60 hours a week, 50 to 60 hours every week for 9 months, just wet work. And that I know from my own experience, you know, everything else was kind of the fluff. You know, yeah, I could find glaze recipes and I could figure out how I was going to fire these things. But if I didn't have a good pot to start, you know, okay, I have two different things to say about that. One is being a great potter doesn't mean you're going to sell really well because you do have to have a nice finished product in order for people to be attracted to your work. So you could be a totally not that great potter and have like glazes that wowed the world and still sell really well. So you really need to develop both of those. You know, you want your finished product to really sing and have like a uniqueness or something that attracts people.
Right.
So that is important, not to diminish that in any way.
Yeah. So the class is 2 hours every week. Remind me. Okay.
2 hours every week with a break every 6th week. So we meet for 5 weeks, we're off for 1 week, meet for 5 weeks, off for 1 week. And I'll give you that calendar at the beginning. And mostly it doesn't change. Every once in a while, something comes up and, you know, like all of a sudden we're scheduled on the 4th of July and everybody's like, can we change that? So we change it based on majority.
Okay. Yeah. No, my husband would complain that I spend way more than 10 hours a week at pottery when I'm in classes. So, because I brought it home with me. So the time commitment, that time commitment is not a problem. It's just being in front of the camera with you, but that sounds doable.
Yeah, 2 to 4 hours a week and more if you want, you know, more if you're doing one-on-ones. Everybody gets 3 one-on-ones as part of the package in the cohort, plus the intake call. So it's like 4 one-on-ones and then you can add more. And for you, you can do it in person. So we should work together in person because there's no reason not to since we're so close. Yeah, I
that would be awesome.
Studio, you can come to mine because we go down to Monterey anyway sometimes. So.
Oh, fantastic. Well, the only other thing I got to get over now is doing that video on the application.
You don't have to do the video. I've met you already. Yeah, you don't have to do it. I just need to get a sense of people. Yeah, the video is mostly for me to get a sense of who you are. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep, just apply. Don't worry about the video. Yeah.
Hey, Joan.
Everything else is filled out. That was where I stopped.
Hit submit. Lisa, were you going to say
Joan?
something?
Yeah, I'm just going to reassure Joan that I don't know whether you remember my cohort application video.
I do.
It didn't even feature me. It featured my dog, which I don't know whether you can see him here. But I was so shy and so worried about things like that. So but in terms of timings, it was really good to give me structure because I felt that as a mom of 3 and busy with other things as well and work, and it's very difficult to put yourself first and foremost and say, right, I'm going to be a potter, or I'm going to dedicate this amount of time. And before I knew it, I was being pulled away from it all the time. And so having that structure of, and that almost accountability, but very soft accountability. No one was going to tell me off, really. Everyone was very supportive, but I knew that I would dedicate that time for the lessons, and that was my time, and I was going to be doing that. And actually, my family were fine with it. They were absolutely fine with it. They were really encouraging. But I think I was very worried about doing that, and then it gave me the structure, because then it was split up with open studio as well, so that you could, do as much or as little as you want. And so some weeks I could do absolutely loads, and then other weeks, there'd be family things or work things that I would be pulled away to. But it was really good to have that definite thing. And then sometimes you Amy will know, at some point or other, everyone in the cohort went, oh my God, I'm behind. And then everyone were like, no one's behind. We're all working at we're all where we need to be, and we're absolutely fine. So everyone was all different parts, but it was really great. So I don't think, if you've got 10 hours, I don't think, and you seem very enthusiastic about it, don't worry about putting any obstacles in your way, because Amy will help you with that. It'd be great.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
No worries.
Amy.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Amy, I was going to say one thing quickly, is I met someone who took your cohort, and she couldn't say enough. She said it was life-changing, but she also said one thing that it gave her more than anything is confidence. And I think that's one of the things that a lot, like you're talking about your inner critic, she spoke about that, and she was like so excited about how she came out of that course, just as a person, but also as a potter.
Yeah.
It was very nice to hear somebody that excited about a program.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's really neat to get that kind of like anonymous feedback. And it's true, because it's really a holistic program. Like, I'm not just interested in you guys getting better at throwing, I'm really interested in helping people like live their best lives. Early on, I created this program called the Do What You Love Project, and I helped people kind of like visualize what their lives could be, especially people who were stuck in jobs that they didn't like. And I also have a program called The Ancient Art of Self-Love that I created. And so I've always been interested in helping people just feel better in their bodies, in themselves, about their lives. And especially the inner critic is probably the worst, that's the worst plague on humanity is, and I have it too. It's not like I'm free of it, but I work on it pretty actively with myself, and anybody I hear ever saying anything negative about themselves, I will never not interrupt the inner critic. I have a little doll I made, or a little sculpture I made of myself, like wielding this huge knife, like as though I was like in battle with the global inner critic, slashing inner critics right and left. Because that's like my high dream, is to like, help people get rid of it. It's just, you can kind of see, like, I don't know if you guys can see, well, anyway, my students, when I look at them, I just feel like they're glowing, like Magdalena, Irene, Becca, I just see you, and it's just like, Lisa, just like have some kind of radiance. And I feel like I have it too. I don't want to I'm not going to smush that down in myself. Like, I really feel good about living my best life and shining and helping other people do that. It's really important to me.
Well, Amy, do you remember what Megan said? Megan said that with this course, she said, I became a better person, a better friend, a better mother, and better wife.
Wow.
And I think we can all say that, we just became better people. And it was only a pottery course, but really not just a pottery course. It was life coaching as well to us.
Yeah.
It was, I have to add this. I don't know how many people are on here because I'm on my little phone today, but the glow and the energy, I think, is in everybody before they arrive, but it's really blossoms when you're in this tribe of women who are right on the same path, because somebody was saying about how many hours to invest. Well, here's the thing. I am already an established potter and had a studio, and I'm a teacher and all the same stuff that you guys are doing. But I didn't have something to hold myself accountable. And I knew I had some upcoming exhibits, and I needed my butt to be in my studio, and I needed to be around the right people. And it held me accountable. Like you say, you know, I'm worried about the time to invest. That's our problem sometimes. Like, we don't give enough time to our work, but we want to be better at it. And we can't be better at it if we don't give enough time to it. And I'm not saying that, you know, you got to ignore your kids, don't feed your husband, whatever those things are. But like, honestly, it's so interesting how your family and friends will adapt. Because like, if you're at work, you can't be doing that either, right? So I'm in my studio on Sundays, I have a class. And on Thursdays, I have an open studio. And then I have my side meetings, and it's all in the book, right? Everybody else is doing it and you're working around them. So now it's kind of like, for me, it was my turn to be like, finally, I got 9 months to do this, you know? That's my,
like a job.
that is
It's a job.
totally.
Yeah, respect. It's self-respect. Lisa was saying the same thing before, you know, it's like creating that structure, saying like, well, this is, I have a commitment, you know, I'm not available for everybody, you know, I'm not at everybody's beck and call. Yeah.
Amy, I have another.
Uh-oh. Who is talking?
Go ahead, Shara, and then I'll jump in.
Okay, thank you. I have a question about your shelving.
Oh, uh-huh.
And can you, yeah, because I need to build new shelves and it looks super efficient.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, it's modular. Yeah, let me see. Let me show you here. Let's get a little closer. Yeah, so I did not build these myself, and I wasn't totally connected to the people when they were doing it. So I would have done a couple things different, which is having a crossbar. There needs to be a bar right here in the middle. Can you see this?
Yes.
It's not hard to see. But because there isn't a bar here, when I slide the front board to the back, I have to be super careful that it doesn't fall down. But if I put the bar in the middle here, it would prevent that, you know, it would kind of guide the board that was here. So my other shelves in the other room have that. But these are like, that's why it's just my like little, whatever, my little criticism of these shelves. But other than that, these are just 1x2s, or you could have a wider rung 2x2s, or these are like 1x3s or something like that, on a 2x4 frame. And it's just modular, you know, so this board can be here or here. I can push them to the back. These are 24 inches deep and 48 inches wide, so 4 feet by 2 feet. And I have tons and tons of these boards, so I can use as many as I need. Again, I can't see myself, but hopefully you can see.
You're doing well.
And yeah, and so if you do build shelves like this, the way that I make sure that they don't fall is I run my finger right here when I'm pushing right under against the board like a guide, so I don't ever drop the board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but if it had that thing in the middle, I wouldn't have to be that careful. It's kind of like, you can see this board doesn't fit so tightly. It's got space here and space here. So that's like not the greatest board. I have to be really careful with that one. But if they fit a little more tightly, it's a little bit better. Did I answer your question, Shara? Do you want plans?
Yeah,
These are probably like 6 inches apart. That's about what the space is, about 6 inches. If you weren't at the workshop yesterday, I told everybody measure the wingspan of your hand so you have a ruler always with you. It's really convenient to know how to measure things on the fly with your hand.
And then how did you say how wide? You said how wide and how long?
Yeah, 4 feet wide, 2 feet deep for each bay. And then if you have two next to each other, you can double up the use of those middle ones instead of.
And so each shelf is just a foot wide.
Each shelf can be a foot or 10 inches. I have, you know, some different ones that I've used for different purposes, but yeah.
Okay. And just plywood or?
Yeah, plywood is great. Ripped plywood.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
That's why they're
We
4
can build
feet.
them now.
Because, yeah,
Yeah, that was everything. I love you.
I love you too.
You're incredible. I have to go. I have to do some work, but I love you, Amy.
No worries. Thank you so much for
Okay.
coming, Shara. Great to
And
see you.
everybody, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing this, everybody.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I'll look at the rest later. Love you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Leslie?
Yes. I was just going to speak on a couple of things. I had to run some things up to my daughter's school, so I was in the car listening. But so I was in the cohort, and I found out about it like 2 days before her deadline was up. And I stressed about it the whole time as far as making that video because it felt so out of my comfort zone. Partly because I cared so much, and I was like, I have to be accepted. Like, I will live stream, like I will do anything to get in this. And I was just myself and got in, which was fantastic. But really, if it is something that you're interested in, I cannot encourage you enough to give it a go. I am a mother of 4, and my responsibilities are everyone but me. And this is something that I did for me. And it was life changing. Like everyone has said that a little bit, but the confidence, like I've been doing pottery I got a wheel right before COVID happened. So it was very, very lucky timing. But because I didn't have a mentor and I didn't have, like the educational background, I was just watching YouTube videos. Well, when I went to reclaim my clay, I'm like, I don't even know what the consistency of my clay should be because my brain just like had never done it before. And I was drying my clay too dry. But really having Amy there and the open studio is like are kind of like this, where we literally just bring ourselves and our whatever's happening in our lives to studio. So if you're having an issue with something that we're not talking about, you bring in the studio, and it usually encourages other conversation that everyone is having. So, or everyone's thinking, or everyone can kind of contribute to it. It's a really fantastic atmosphere. But the confidence part for me was the most important. A lot of people feel like an imposter, and I definitely felt like an imposter. I've been doing pottery for 4 years, but this was the first year I sold it. And I remember driving home from my first market, left a message for Amy, just like crying. I was so happy and felt so validated in my work as an artist. And so that alone was life-changing for me. But I just wanted to share, if you are interested in it at all, like it really is an investment for you, but it's so rewarding.
To touch on something that Leslie said, it doesn't matter what your skill level is when you come into this, because I will be the first to say that I thought I knew how to throw because of how I was taught. And I quickly learned that how I was taught was not the way it should be done. So I had to force myself to relearn everything over again. And I would not be where I'm at today if I had not stumbled on Amy. I still would have been thinking, I know what I'm doing, but why can't I get the height? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Am I really a moron? What's going on? And she just has a way of, telling you to stay at it, stay at it, stay at it. And when you're doing cylinders, it's time to move on to bowls. It's like, okay, I can come back to that. And you do bowls, and then you do something else. Then when you come back to do cylinders, you're like, oh my gosh, I got so much more height than I did before. You just stay with it, trust the process, and it works.
I will also say, like, the skills that you have going in are skills you don't lose. Like Amy said that a little bit earlier. When she does her first move, I don't do it the same way. Like I've integrated what works for me into her style. And that's something that Amy is also, it's not like, you're doing this my way or you're out. Like she's open to you adjusting as you feel is right for you. And it's great.
Yeah, that's important. I want to highlight that what I like for people to do is at least try to learn my way, because that's what I have to teach. But we all have different bodies, like let's say you didn't have a thumb. How are you going to do the claw pull? Not everybody has a thumb. So anyway, there's no hard and fast rules. But ideally, whatever I teach you then fuses with you, your body, your style, what works the best for you. I will say that there were some people who were like, came in very accomplished already, came into the cohort like already throwing and teaching for 20 years kind of thing. And they kind of skipped some steps, and I don't think they got as much out of the cohort if they didn't, because my newer students, people who were like a little bit fresher, really pushed themselves to learn, and it was hard. The first month, the first month was hard, and I added in a ton of extra open studios in that first month because I really want to be present and really do a whole lot of coaching that first month to help people get over that hump. And it would happen like people would have these ahas where all of a sudden they'd get it one day. And after that, it's kind of like this huge, it was kind of like plateau, whoosh, you know, and so it takes a while to get to that. It took some frustration. And a lot of the people who had been seasoned just didn't want to relearn something, didn't want to learn something new. And it's okay. It's totally okay. I think they still got a lot out of it, just not the thing that I feel like I really have to teach. But yeah.
With that as well, whenever there's something that comes up, you always have something to say that makes us feel better. I remember when I was learning and it was frustrating, like, I cannot get this claw pull. It was enjoy the frustration of learning again, because in 9 months you won't have you won't have that. It was a lot less than 9 months, but I think of that a lot. Whenever I get frustrated doing something new that I don't know how to do, I'm just like, enjoy this. Like, I'm going to not have to be frustrated about this at some point. So you always had little tidbits that were fantastic along the way.
So I just had an aha moment.
Hmm.
Hi.
Hey.
Did you notice I finally turned my camera on?
Hi. Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I started getting really emotional listening to everyone because I thought I was interested in the apprenticeship, and I still am, for the skill level. But I realized emotionally what I really need is my community back. Because I have my home studio and I lost my community, as we all did during COVID. So I thought, well, turn on the damn camera.
Join the group.
Exactly. So I just wanted to be a little vulnerable and say thank you to everyone that's sharing. And I can be emotional, and I can prioritize community over skills, and I can swap that in and out at any time. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, both are important. Bringing
Yes.
our whole selves to the experience is how we can get the most out of it.
Exactly.
Bringing our frustrations, like Leslie was saying, our fears, our strengths, all of it, our emotions, which are so pushed down by society when we're all supposed to be all perfect and, whatever that means. So yeah, thank you for bringing your vulnerability. That's the
thank you.
best. That's the best.
It is the best. Thank
That's
you.
the best. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody's, first of all, Amy, you're wonderful. I so love you. But I appreciate everyone's candor about the other part of the 9 months besides a skill. And I appreciate that and love that and the community. I do have some very nuts and bolts questions, like the hours on the weekend. I thought it was both Saturday and Sunday. But you said there's only 2 hours in the weekend.
Okay, let me clarify that. So what I do is, in the application, I ask everybody what are your available hours. The way that it's been looking from the applications I've already gotten, I have decided so far that Saturday mornings look like a really good time for most of the people for class. Then we have community open studios, which are open to both the cohort and the self-guided program and last year's cohort. So those are like open, like more like this, larger, and not just the kind of sweet little cohort experience of open studio. And that, I think, will probably be on Sundays, once a month, just once a month. So there's 2 community open studios a month, but cohort open studios are weekly.
Gotcha. That's where I had confused because I was at the workshop yesterday and I wrote it down wrong. So that's why I was very confused.
I might have said it wrong too. I think I said it wrong
Well-
at one point and confused everybody because last year's cohort met on Sundays. And so I think this year's Saturday looks better so far. Yeah, yeah. And we'll work all that out, if it's,
Okay, I had it both at Saturday from 10 to 12 and Sunday from 10 to 12 is why I had written down from yesterday, but
no,
okay.
this one's on the weekend.
Amy, could you just clarify the cohort open studios times again, tentatively, what you're looking at?
Tentatively, I'm looking at 10 to 12 Pacific Standard Time for the cohort, for the classes. And that looks more like lessons, There's not a lot, there's a little bit of community building that happens there, obviously. And I'm going to try to integrate a little bit more this year, like a little breakout room things and a little bit more connection. But I have so much to teach, I have so much, the classes are big downloads. So, so I want to get that information out. And then I believe that this year's cohort open studios will be on Tuesdays at the same time, 10 to 12 PST. I picked that time because both it's good for me and it's also good for people in Europe. So I like to be open to at least some people that are in different time zones, and it feels like Europe, Africa, those are the kind of like anyway, I'm sorry for people in India and New Zealand and Australia. It just doesn't work for everybody. Yeah, I'll figure out a way to have a 24-hour cohort one day or get up at 3 a.m. But for now, those are the times that seem like they work for the majority of people who follow me and and for me too.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure, and everything is recorded, so anytime you have to miss something, you have access to it.
So my other question is, I don't have a wheel.
Uh-huh.
There's a potential that I could get a wheel if I were to do this. And stick it in my basement. I don't know. I do belong to a studio though.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know about bringing in the camera and, the studio, and they do have a lot of 10 a.m. classes there. So I just don't know how doable it is to be in my community studio with a camera. And
Do you have access to the studio when classes aren't happening?
oh yeah, so I'm a member, so 24/7 access.
Oh,
It's just that like during class time, I won't be on a wheel or.
I think a couple of members did that. I remember San and Anna. I think they were in part of community studios. So they would just have on a pair of headphones.
Yep.
And I don't think they threw at home. I don't think they had their own wheels.
No.
And I don't know. I think there's like those little small tripods that they would occasionally set up, like when for feedback and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like that could be a way to work around it.
Also, you don't have to be working during class. A lot of times people would come to class and they would just observe, take it all in, and then you go and practice. You have the video, you don't have to be working. Classes are more of that kind of download time, of like me offering something. And some people really loved, like Lisa was almost always working during class. And Deanna, she's not here, but there were some people who just they just liked to work. And some people were more of observers and they really liked to just kind of be there and watch. And Irene's almost always right there in her studio too.
Edna, for example, I almost never work in the class because I'm in France, and for me this is 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So that means I was already working in my studio all day. So at the class, I almost never worked unless I had some light work to do. But I just rewatched it the day after when it was more suitable. So that's what I did, because at the moment now it's almost 8:30 p.m. for me. So it's not a problem. It never was a problem.
Yeah. The one thing is it's really good for me to be able to see you throwing. So even if you have to record yourself at a different time and upload the videos we have a private Facebook page. Videos are probably the best way for me to give people feedback, because I can really focus on just one person throwing at a time, either videos or like the spotlighted coaching during class. Just being able to see just one person at a time throwing is really helpful for me. And I love it when people post videos. of themselves throwing. So that's a really easy way to get feedback. And,
And Amy, it kind of changed a little bit as we were going along as well, didn't it? Because when I started, I thought, oh, I'll just join in. And then I realized that I ended up missing a lot, and I wasn't taking in, especially when it was all so new. And I was making so many bangles from the I had a phase of just, I was trying to throw a cylinder essentially, and with the claw thing, I just couldn't get it. And it was so frustrating, and I just had so many bangles of clay around me, and but eventually it did click and it went in. But I thought, oh, maybe I need to just slow down and watch and really absorb it and take notes. And then I found that after about a month or so, it really changed. And I thought, actually, no, I want to do it at the same time. And because that's how my brain works, it's very busy all the time. So I was thinking, well, if I can watch and listen, I'm more relaxed in my body, because my head actually isn't really worrying about what I'm doing on the wheel. I'm listening to Amy and what she's telling us. And actually it was quite freeing. And then quite often the next day I would listen to the recording, and when I had it was nice and quiet in the morning, because again, for me, it's UK time. So I was in the evening as well, a little bit earlier than Magdalena, but sort of 6 till 8. And I was I just found that it was really useful to do it at the same time, probably about after 2 months or so. And then on the Monday morning, I would always then rewatch the video so that has it actually gone in or not? Because you have days where you just get, some weeks you just get it and it's brilliant, and then other weeks you think, oh my goodness, I can hardly throw, I'm throwing ashtrays. And other weeks you're throwing massive big vessels. And so it is, for want of a better word, it is a journey, it's an experience. And so sometimes certain ways of working will work really well for you, and then other times you'll think, oh, I'm going to change this up, or just learn from other people in the cohort. They do things differently. So I think for me, I liked joining in and as we're doing it along.
I will say, with the open studios that we had, we talked about so many different things, and so many people would share resources that, nobody else knew about. And one of the things that, if you don't have a wheel at home, one of the things that was shared was a super affordable wheel that Becca uses for teaching. So she travels with it. And I think it was like $200 or under $200. So it's like, that's way more affordable than, getting maybe your dream wheel, but maybe, investing a couple $100 on a wheel that you don't necessarily want to keep forever, or, is not your ideal, will get you to the point where you're buying your dream wheel.
Amazon.com.
Yeah. Yep. It was like $170, I think. And I thought about getting one too, even though I have 5 wheels. I thought about getting one for when I do shows or something, or just go down to the beach and throw, or go throw to the mountains, or go to a park and throw. Or those were cool. I think Megan had some problems with hers.
I can show you what they look like.
Yeah, show us, Becca.
I have 5 of them.
5. Wow.
You see?
Oh, here, let's spotlight you. I'm not seeing your teeny tiny. Hold on. All right. Does it have adjustable legs? Or is it a table?
Yes, I set it up on bed risers.
Does it have bat pens? How do you work around?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Does it have bat pins?
Okay. So I have 5 of these. I had them in my studio for close to almost 5 years, and I had about 500 students learn on these wheels.
Wow.
They do not have bat pins. I teach them how to take their pot off the wheel like we used to do in the 70s. And it's a very simple thing to do. Actually, Amy does it and doesn't have to do it because she has bat pins. But like I said, it's not the $3,000 wheel model, but it gets the job done. For a beginner, it's great. I set them up on bed risers according to the height of the student. So
who makes them?
These are the.
Oh, nice.
I set them up on these.
Great. That's great.
Who makes them?
I don't know. Just go to Amazon and put in pottery wheel and it'll come up.
Does it have
came from
a-
Singapore. It came from Singapore.
There's a
Wow.
name that I've seen a lot. It's Vevor, Vevor. I've seen that name floating around a lot.
I think that's
And
it.
a number of
I have that one. I have that Vevor or Vivor one. That's what I started. I've only been, I said I've been doing pottery since COVID, but I just started throwing like a year ago. And I got that Vivor or Vevor one. And it's so short, but I did the same thing, put it up on bed risers. And it's quite functional. I actually saw a YouTube video of how to put back pins in. And so I drilled through the wheel, so I have bat pins in mine, so I can use the bat. And that's what I started on, and it was great as a starter. The pedal was not as sensitive as you would like, and so it'd be like you're going down, and it's like nothing, and zoom. So it was quite a learning curve with just trying to figure out how to work with that pedal. So I mean, it was $140 wheel.
Wow.
So, but other than that, it was quite serviceable. I mean,
how big is the wheel head? Is it
it's
full
a 12.
10-inch?
The one I got, you could choose. You could get smaller ones, and I got the 12-inch so that I could use my 10-inch, hole to hole for my 10-inch bats, and then still have an inch around it. So it's a 12-inch wheel head.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really easy to drill. I mean, it's not thick. It's really easy to drill the holes.
Wow. That is so cool.
These
so
are the kinds
impressive.
of things that you're going to learn every week.
They're what? What did you
These
say,
are the
Beck?
kinds of things that Leslie's talking about. Like you just learn so much.
Yeah, and
more
suddenly
than-
everybody's got a new wheel, or we all bought this special sanding pad, or
I
it's
kept
great
it.
to
I found a real wheel on Marketplace. So it's a Bailey, and it's with that built-in. I mean, it's like an incredible wheel. The problem for me is with that built-in splash pan. I mean, it sits in the pan. It's too wide for my hip angle. Like I have some constriction in my left hip, and so I can't have my legs wrapped around it. It's painful. And so but it has a leg extensions. So I put leg extensions on. So now the wheel's actually above I can get my legs a little bit under it, and the angle isn't so wide. But now I'm trying to figure out, where is my position for centering? I mean, I still can't center the stupid clay most of the time, or half the time. So I'm struggling with that. But anyway, the Bailey is a great wheel, and Marketplace you just have to keep your eyes open because they go like in 30 seconds. The real ones do. So, but I kept the little Vivor sitting under my slab roller because I can, if I have little kid coming to this, or like you, Amy, I'm thinking have fantasies that, I could throw anywhere, because there are adapters that you can buy for your car that you can plug in, and this can run on that, can run off your car battery, so I'm like, but one step at a time. I'd like to be able to center clay in my basement. That would be good.
Right, to start with centering. Right. So how about standing? Have you thought about making it into a standing wheel?
My new one?
Yeah.
I have thought about that. I bought a really fancy chair, like you saw. The chair that I bought is a 5'5", at the base, and the seat looks like your seat, but it also tilts front and back.
Nice.
So, and it can go as high as my work table, as a standing, like a sit stand chair at the work table, and then come down.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find, is there a height that I can, of that stool, that I can work at the wheel the way it is, but there is also the option of turning it into standing. But I can't imagine how you get I can't quite visualize how to do that. And I think standing is not the best thing for my particular body, with my hips and my knees, standing for long periods. So I really still don't know my position at the wheel.
Right, but maybe that sit stand thing, if you were up a little bit higher and you're kind of like supported up against a wall with a wall behind you. John Glick, he's a potter, he died, but he has an article out there about standing wheels and how to design it, and ergonomics for your back. And the thing, I tried a standing wheel. I still want to try it, but I tried it, and I really like to keep my foot on the pedal, and so it just felt really one-sided to be standing and have a foot on the pedal, but I think
Yeah.
if I was like maybe against a wall, maybe somehow strapped in, with a little support, maybe I have a little wedge under my other foot to like make it kind of feel equal. I think that there should be a way to do it.
I was watching on Instagram a woman that was at a standing wheel, and I think she probably had a lever on the wheel to control the, but she wrapped her left leg
That's Jessica.
around.
That's my student. Yeah.
Oh my
For
gosh, that was
centering. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
She wrapped her left leg around what?
Around the leg, the leg, the wheels on on this really high table, and her left
Really?
leg wraps around the leg of the table. So I think it's like an anchor, right?
Yeah. She found a way because she also is a body-centered person. She's like into yoga and all kinds of stuff and just body mechanics. And she found a way to kind of like, kind of hug herself into the wheel and then kind of hug the clay into center. And it was just a way that she could stabilize herself and make it comfortable for herself to center standing.
I bought one of those Aspire tabletop wheels. It only has a 7-inch wheel head, but I'm having trouble. I bought it so I could take it places and throw, like I do demos at art shows and things. The problem is I can't find a sturdy enough table for it that I can sit at that doesn't move with the wheel that's light enough to carry around. I mean, it's like this, it's kind of a, so what I did last time, I stood at one of these tables. I have one of these Costco tables that's higher than a regular tabletop. And I stood at, and what I realized, if I have a window ledge behind me, it's like I'm sitting on a really tall stool. And the way the window sits, it pushes you forward. It was perfect.
Nice. And another little tip for that is if you can put your table up against anything else, like if there's something else that's stable and you could just bring it into touching, bring that table so it's touching, like if there's a stable booth or another table or a building like the window, that'll stabilize the table. It'll take it, pretty extremely, add stability. I'm just seeing this question from Sarah. I wanted to, yes, Leslie answered it. Yeah, I do lift both feet. So my right foot is on the pedal, which is on my 2x4, so it's raised just that much, 2 inches. And my other foot is raised higher. My left foot is up probably like 4 inches, I guess, to equalize my thighs. I want my thighs to be at the same height.
And your hips.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, my hips and my thighs. My hips would be at the same because of the chair, but my feet being at different levels, it would just change everything. So yeah, I really like to feel as symmetrical as possible for my body when I'm sitting at the wheel. Also wedging, very symmetrical, very in the middle. Yeah. What else? We've got about 20 minutes left. Other questions, other inspirations you want to share with the group here? I could do coaching too. If anybody wants me to watch them at the wheel, we could do that. And I'll say that in the last cohort, we only started doing that in the 3rd trimester. And then this new cohort, I'm going to start it from the very beginning. We're going to be doing spotlight coaching starting at the beginning, so I can really help people, because some people were shy, and I feel like if they had gotten over that earlier, I'm never going to force anybody to do it, but I want to create the opportunity so I can really help people earlier on.
They're so valuable.
Yeah.
And I would say getting feedback is everything, because I teach pottery now. And so as a pottery teacher, like no one's giving me feedback, no one there. There's just no way to improve on my skills. So I really welcome that feedback. And Amy is excellent at giving feedback. She's gentle, but also direct. Like, I feel like not many people can do that well, but she does it well. Like, she gives you feedback, but also kind of upholds you as a person.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Irene, for that feedback. And yeah, Katya, there is a Facebook group and we have a lot of engagement there. That's a great place for everything, to share videos of yourself throwing. If you don't want to be like live, for some people, it's just too nerve-wracking to be live, in front of a group throwing. It might be too nerve-wracking for me to do that. Actually, I think I've gotten over that. But I understand that feeling, of like feeling nervous in front of a group. So, yeah, we do a lot on the Facebook group, a lot of sharing inspiration, sharing our progress, sharing our struggles. Yeah, so hopefully everybody in the cohort is willing to be on Facebook to do that.
Do you?
Hi. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to ask on the self-guided. I don't know if I have the willpower, I will say, to do a self-guided. But could you talk a little bit about the self-guided versus
Yeah.
cohort?
Yeah, so the self-guided program gets all the videos from the cohort. If you were to join the self-guided program today, I would send you all the videos from last year's cohort. And then anybody who joins after March 1st will get this New Year's cohort videos. So it's a lot of videos. It's over 200 videos. It's like 223 videos, I think, altogether. So it's like a lifetime's worth of videos. There's different packages for the self-guided program. So you can do what's called the bare bones program, which is you just get the videos and then you have access to the Facebook group for, you could post as much as you want. You could have as much engagement as you want on the Facebook group. And then it goes all the way up to like the premium package or something like that, the gold package, where you can have unlimited open studios and 3 one-on-one calls with me during the year. It's a 1-year thing. You have lifetime access to the videos, but 1 year of unlimited open studios. And then after that, I don't know what I have to, I'm like, kind of like creating it on the fly. So I like everything to work for everybody. I don't like to make anything inaccessible to anybody. So like, for example, there's somebody who paid for unlimited open studios and that last April, and I still haven't seen her in a single one. And I'm not going to be like, well, you're shit out of luck, too bad for you. You didn't use them. I'm just going to say like, how can we make this work? Do you need a refund or do you want to, extend it out another year or whatever? So I try to be really generous and flexible with people's realities in life. I have no idea why that person hasn't come to any open studios yet, but she did pay for them. And I've emailed her and haven't heard back from her. So I don't know what's going on with her. But anyway, just to say, I like to be generous. And so there's different levels for the self-guided program. You can buy a package of 6 open studios. Everybody, even the bare bones, gets at least 1 free open studio just to come. And so we get to know each other a little bit and I get to give you at least feedback, a little bit of feedback. To get you going. And then you can always drop in. It's a $25 drop in for people who are in either one of my programs to drop into a 2-hour open studio. So if you bought a package of 6, but you want to come more often, you can either upgrade to unlimited or you can, just pay per time that you come, $25. And then if you want to do one-on-ones with me, it's $75 as a discounted rate, my discounted rate for a one-on-one hour-long session. Yeah. Open studios, that's so hard to answer. At the beginning, yes, we're almost all on wheels at the beginning when everybody's learning. I'm answering this question in the chat that says, are open studios mostly wheel work oriented? So, but not necessarily, and I think that this year I have some some meetings scheduled with my students from last year. But I want to make it better. I'm really always interested in making the program better. So it is like an organism. And if I had gotten feedback from anybody that said, we really need more, kiln loading experience, or we really need some glaze direction, I would work that in. So I think that this year's open studios are going to be a little bit more structured with themes, like maybe at least the first month is always all on the wheel. In March, we're going to be meeting for extra open studios. So not just 1 a week, I'm going to have 2 a week in March. And I'll make that work for the group, depending on what you say is your availability. Janice, did I answer your question enough? Get
So
an
I guess what I'm seeing in either one versus the other is the community, which I missed because I was at a community ed class and they decided not to let us seniors in anymore. But anyway, we got a great discount and they just decided they wanted new students and let the college kids get in and pay the bigger bucks. But anyway, I miss the community and now I'm very happy doing everything at home, but I miss the community. So I'm thinking the cohort is probably a better option for me.
It's pretty
and,
amazing.
And I like having somebody hold my feet to the fire too, a little bit.
Gently.
I definitely think that the community aspect is one that I knew I wanted, but didn't realize how impactful it was going to be. Because even aside from the cohort, we had small groups where, I mean, our small groups became super tight. I mean, some of them, I don't know about all of them, but I think majority of them, like, we will be lifelong friends with our cohort group, but also like we have even more ties with our small groups as well. So if community is something that you are looking for, I definitely recommend the cohort is as opposed to the self-guided. Not that the self-guided isn't, because a lot of us are in that group as well, but there's just a lot more interaction that, I mean, that is one of the things I felt I was missing as a potter was, I didn't go to college, so I don't have that like college-based group of friends that are interested in the things that, you may go to college and study for. So when I have clay questions, I didn't like going to groups on Facebook. It wasn't for me. I'm a more like one-to-one personal talking person. And that was very much fulfilled in the cohort more than I anticipated. So if community is the only reason you join, it's still very worth it.
Yeah, it's the full meal deal. The cohort is the full meal deal. And the self-guided program is good because you get all the instruction. Like I have some students who are really skyrocketing their skills, but we don't know them very well. We don't know each other very well, So it's kind of like this, like, oh, I wish I knew you better. But in the cohort, there's this kind of instant family closeness thing that just doesn't happen. The self-guided program, people come to the open studios and we're all friendly with each other and we get to know each other a little bit there, but it's just nothing like the cohort where we have that clockwork meeting time, where we're just in, we're just in with each other. Yeah.
All right. That helps. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a bit of a question. So I've been looking at, even last year, I actually was going to, I was interested and stuff, but my goal is not to be a production potter.
That's fine.
I live in a very small community and I really want to just hone in on my skills.
Yeah.
But I mean, the community of other potters would be great too, because like I said, I live in a small community, so I have a couple people to bounce things off from this community and other communities, but it's just not the same, right? Like there's no community group or anything like that. So that would be nice. But so I'm just kind of like, I've been going back and forth between the self-guided and the cohort. Like, and I just don't know where to go, what direction.
So when you say you want to build your skills, you mean your real throwing skills, like you want to feel like you're throwing better? So the reason that I call it a production pottery cohort isn't that you have to become a production potter. It's just that working in production makes you smarter. It makes your brain and your body just learn things so fast. So if I were to just make 3 pieces, let's say I want to make a bowl and I'm going to make 3 of them and then I'll go on to the next thing. By the 3rd one, maybe I've learned something. But if I make 10, an aha happens. It's almost always, an aha will happen just by working in series. Same thing if I was doing a hand building project. If I were just to do one, maybe I'd do this. I'm kind of struggling with this. By the 3rd one, I'm like, oh, if I just use this tool. And by the 10th one, I was like, oh, look, I can do these 4 at the same time. And I just cut out like half of my time. So production just makes your brain and body work together in this kind of magical way that I think it's worth it, even if it's just to just to learn something, you know, even if you're still going to go back and do one-off pots or, you know, not produce a ton of pots. And when I give my assignments, I have different tiers, and all the assignments are voluntary. You know, I don't make anybody do anything. I don't make them show me their work. But I will ask a little bit more this year, just so I can stay up on how everybody's doing. But I say, like, okay, so then here's an assignment suggestion. Make 10, 20, or 30 plus of these, you know, straight wall tumblers or whatever. And so some people who are newer, like Magdalena, might have been making 10. And then the people who were already seasoned potters were doing, you know, 30 or 40. And so you find where you fit in that. And if you make 7, then we're like, yay, you made 7. You know, nobody's like, you didn't even make 10. Nobody does that. You know, 5, great. So everybody just kind of dials it in to fit themselves. And I try to give assignments that kind of span the ability of the group.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
That is helpful. And as you're saying that, though, I'm thinking, I'm like, I just get bored doing the same thing over and over again. Like I just have a bit of trouble well, I don't know if it's bored or just get antsy. Like, so I do, like, if I'm ever going to do anything, I do 4 or 8 of these mugs, and that's all I'm doing, and I move on to something else. And
that's okay.
Like, that's kind of
it's okay. It's better than one. And you know, I mean, I think during the cohort, like what happens is that when you see your skills improving, and then you just kind of get a little bit of a taste for it, and actually you learn to like love the meditation of the repetition. And sometimes that antsiness, sometimes it's just our nature, but sometimes it's an edge, you know what I mean? It's like a growing edge, and we work it a lot in the cohort on our growing edges and recognizing what they are. So like, let's say you're like, I just get antsy when I get to 8, you know, but like some part of me wishes I could make 20, but I just like, you know, something in me like kind of sabotages it, and I just go off and do something different. So then, you know, just your awareness of that, like I'd actually like to, maybe I could start going past 8 to 10, you know? And so we kind of gently work with our personal edges, so we become the potters and people that we want to be. So I really work with all the students, even from the intake call, we're talking about what is your growing edge? And just knowing that creates like a path of evolution, a path of growth. Knowing what your growing edge is, where you stop yourself, where you believe that you can't go further, you know, all those things that are in the way. And, you know, it's totally fine to be at peace with like, no, I love making 3 of everything. I love it. You know, 3 is my number. I'm a 3 person. But, but if you want, like you said, you wanted to build your skills, you know, repetition is just the easiest way. And then you have twice as many gifts to give people or pots to sell, and you're making them in half the time. So you're not using any, you know, if it's just the time, you know, getting more efficient at things, that's one thing that I really like to help people with, is cutting out the unnecessary steps so they can, you know, so the whole thing feels like a dance. So it's just like kind of effortlessly happening. You know, we work on being magicians, you know, and just kind of like finding flow.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the things we also did towards the end of the cohort, which I don't know if you're thinking about starting in this sooner for the next one, Amy, but was our signature styles. And I felt like that was very valuable with the group, just because we had you know, trust and relationships built already, where we would kind of give feedback and like positive criticism. I can't remember how you worded it, Amy, but those things, yes. So those things all really helped us. Like, if you know that you're only going to sit down and make 4 or 8, that's fantastic. But maybe like if you made more and you just played with it, the shape or something else that made it so it wasn't boring to you, having those ideas, and also like coming into your signature style. If you're doing things that you absolutely love, maybe you don't get bored at 8.
That's true. I think we learned the forms. Amy teaches the forms of different things like cylinder bowls, but to take it to the next level, you know, add in your own style, your own embellishments, you know, like there's ways to vary it up.
Yeah.
Amy, can I ask, I think like I said, I'm in a class, and it's I've been in this group for a year, and they're all more advanced potters than I am. And they're very kind, and I don't feel judged. And yet I have such a hesitation because I'm such a beginner. My anxiety is I don't want to, this is me talking to them. I don't want to take up class time. Like the idea is, oh, we're going to make a XYZ on the wheel. I'm immediately in a panic inside. I'm like, I can't even center the, I can't even center the clay. And now the focus is going to come on me because they're going to try and help me, and I'm going to derail. I mean, and so I don't even ask for the help that I need in a way, even though I know it's actually available.
Right.
So I have the same hesitation here. It's like, I can't yet reliably center, which my teachers and my class would, by the way, argue with me and say that's actually not true. But for me, not consistently enough for my own. So I feel like I'm at such a beginning level. And I know Magdalena just started like, a year ago as well. And she's way further than I am in a year, I'll tell you that. And part of it is also with my struggle with centering, the message I get is you just think too much, you're overthinking. And I want to say, that's right. So that's who this is.
Help me,
how does she do it?
Yes, yeah. How does the thinker do it?
Like it doesn't help me to say you're overthinking. I know. Anyway, so I would have the same anxiety here, like in an open studio or something. I'd be like, I don't want to take up everybody's time. I'm just a baby potter kind of thing. So,
well, it's important that everybody takes up some space, I mean, somebody's got to do something. But, I feel like hopefully everybody gets what they came for. And if that's like, we need to meet separately and do one-on-ones, or you want to send me videos, and I can give you feedback, or like, you're more comfortable going at the end, nobody's forced to do anything, but I think it's really wise that, like that awareness, like I really want to feel like more competent with centering, because throwing is like building a house. If you don't have a good foundation, it's, the walls don't stand very well. So I just think it's great that that that's where you're at. And I would love to help you feel more confident with centering. I just think that that's awesome. And that's something that, like they were saying, if you have a small group, sometimes, just having like 3 people meeting and having your own goals and saying, could you guys just watch me for a second? I just want to center, and I need like a little bit of support. I don't want to be in a room full of 20 people watching me, but maybe the 2 of you. And this year, I think what I'm going to do is have the small groups self-select, because last year I was the matchmaker and we had just way too much shifting around. So this year, I think I'm just going to not start the small groups right away. And after people get to know each other for a little while, I think that will form the small groups. So then you're with the people who you want to be with, like it's kind of a natural friendships form. What do you guys think about
Can I
the
also
people who were in last year's cohort?
say to Janet that I was like you with the centering, because I was learning from YouTube from few different teachers, and as a result, it was a big mess. I was centering like somebody else. I was trying to open like somebody else. I was trying to pull the wall like somebody else, and as a result, it was just a mess. And as soon with the first lesson, when Amy showed us how to center, I swear to God, it takes me now about 5 seconds. I'm not over exaggerating. It takes me now, I don't know how the rest of the group, but it takes me now maybe 6 seconds to center.
Can I also say that
Great.
I've been
That's
throwing since I off and on, like I started throwing in middle school, and then I got away from it and I got back to it and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's interesting to me to hear, Janet, you ask a question, because I might learn something, even though I've been doing it for this long. Amy's a different teacher. She's going to teach it differently than I've learned it, or I've been practicing it. So, don't hesitate to be my personal viewpoint is, don't hesitate to be around other people that are experienced, because they can learn by your question. And at the very least, they'll learn patience.
That's such a great point, Joan. I mean, I just really that was my big aha from this cohort, was how much I learned. I mean, I grew so much myself as a potter, both from challenging myself, but also just being exposed to all the different potters in the group of all different levels. And yes, the beginner questions are kind of the best because they're so open-minded and so innocent, that it makes us all just kind of get down to the root of it all. And yeah, it's a service, I think I said that at the very beginning of this open studio, is that whatever anybody in the group brings to the table is a service. It's for it's for yourself, but it's also for other people. And it's always a relief for somebody to ask a question that they're afraid to ask. It's a
I agree.
service. It is.
Yeah. I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna go finish my application.
Great. Yes, go do it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is the end. We're at time, so I'm going to say goodbye. If you have more questions, please just reach out. If you're even just maybe about applying, you might as well just apply. You could tell me tomorrow or the day after, you know what, I applied, but it's not really right for me. But by applying, we get to have an hour together. We do an intake call, we feel it out, and yeah, I don't know why anybody wouldn't apply if they were kind of considering it,
How
because
many people are in the cohort?
I'm gonna have to make that decision, no more than 30. This last year, we started off with 20 or 22 or so, maybe 23. And some people dropped out over the time. And I'm happy to make payment plans with people and figure out the money part. There were people who were just like, I have no idea how I'm gonna pay for this. And we were like, we're gonna figure that out. And, we're just gonna figure it out. It's okay. Like, you clearly have to be in this cohort. So just come to classes and we'll figure it out. And some people just were like, in the middle, I had one person who in the middle, they're like, me and my husband looked at our finances and I can't do it anymore. And I was like, there's no way you're leaving. She's telling me with tears in her eyes, thank you for everything you gave to me. And I can't afford it anymore. So she just came to the rest for free. And, at one point it was like, I'll pay you when I can. And then eventually I was like, forget it. Just forget it, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to worry about the money thing. So it's not that I can't afford to teach a whole cohort for free, but, there's some kind of sweetness that the self-guided program is kind of light work for me. So it can kind of hold a couple of scholarships. Like, I will have a couple scholarships available, and if people do need little discounts here and there or payment plans, we can work that out. So so there's a couple more things here. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. The prices are in US dollars. A big advantage to have many skill levels together. The seasoned potters get reinforced the fundamentals, and the beginners get to see what comes up ahead from looking at seasoned potters. There's something for everyone. Totally. I feel a little jealous. It would be really nice for me to be a student and join a cohort and just be one of the gang, it's a lot to hold it, but I love it. It's a lot, but I love it. But wow, to be able to just immerse yourself and just be a part of the group is such a, I don't know, so juicy and fun.
You're our mama.
What, Magdalena?
You are our mama.
Mama, yeah, I am the cohort mama. Yeah, totally.
There were some questions in the chat. Do you plan on answering those later, or?
I thought I had, but maybe there's
The only one I'm seeing is the
string issue.
Sarah's asking about, that one that you're reading.
Aggravated when I'm trying to throw large pieces, elevating my feet, wondering if you have any thoughts to how to prevent tension. Okay, yes, so this is so important. Hola, go ahead. So learning to relax is our most important, that's the most important thing that we can do at the wheel. So I have places in my body of chronic tension, and I track them. I'm on them, my hips will get tense for no reason. I think it's no reason, like it's just, I have certain places where I will hold. And so I work to consciously relax those places. So it's kind of a process. It's a long-term process, doing a body scan. Yeah. And just, I'm constantly, you'll learn this if you join the cohort or even the self-paced program, just constantly looking for tension and how can I do it differently? Because tension is, yeah, sure. Tension is, it's like the enemy of the body, really. You don't really want to be holding. I don't think Sarah's even here anymore, is she? So we're answering this question for her. But anyway, yeah, it's just so important that we track these things and that we adjust and we learn to do things differently. There's always, so one thing I said in yesterday's workshop is there's this concept of 200, 700, 200 body, 200 bones in the body, 700 muscles. And with that combination, we have an infinite number of positions that the body can be in. So if we get into this one way of doing things and we get really rigid there and we build up tension, and it hurts and we ignore it, then we're doing damage to our bodies. But there's all kinds of other ways that we can do that same exact thing. I'll just give you a quick example, which is that this last week, my pinky started hurting. So I was like, why is my pinky hurting? And I started to pay attention to what am I doing with my pinky when I'm throwing? And I realized that I was kind of splaying it out. Even when I do that, I can feel the tension in my hand. And I was like, do I need to have my pinky kind of stretching? It was almost like it was touching the opposite side of the cylinder on the inside. And so I was like, I gotta stop doing that. So I just kind of married my pinky to my ring finger, after 30 years of throwing, probably with my pinky touching the opposite side of the cylinder, reaching for it. And it felt so good. It felt so good to my hand. My pots probably got better. So there's little beliefs that we have, like, this is the right way to do it. And that's just never the case. There just isn't one way to do anything. And definitely if it's something that hurts your body, it's not the right way. So we have to be on top of those things and we have to be adjusting for our bodies. Absolutely. Absolutal. Absolutal. If any of you read that book, what was it called? I love that book. Anyway, South Africa. Nobody knows this book that I'm talking about.
But I have one last question.
Okay.
I literally just sent all your information to a friend of mine who's a brand new potter. And she actually has a wheel. And I found out that her mother-in-law just passed away and they're traveling. So since you just found out about it, can she apply late? I guess is the
Yeah, I will grant some extensions. Yeah, it's not a hard and fast deadline. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, I will start doing the interviews soon. Yeah. But I will, yeah, there will be a few exceptions, I'm sure. I'm really not a hard-lined person in any way. So thanks.
And last question. I know you want to leave. So I am going to get a wheel. All right. So you encouraged me to do this. I wasn't going to do that. I'm going to get a wheel.
Change is happening.
I went to Amazon and I found one that's 450 watts, but so my friend Ruth, who bought one from Amazon, hers is 350. That's why I texted her. I was like, what is your watts? And I tried her wheel. It's awful. Yeah, I mean, it's just not enough power. Like it will slow down if you're trying to do something. Like, oh, my power slows it down the wheel. I'm like, well, this isn't any good. And so is 450, is that like reasonable? It's like
450 is 450 RPMs, not watted. 450 revolutions per minute. So that's how fast your wheel goes around.
Oh.
It said 450.
So the 450 one
watts.
is better than the 350.
Yeah, it said 450 watts and up to 300 RPM.
Oh, okay.
But
per minute, yeah.
I mean, I can just go ahead and look. I can Google it and stuff like that. I just thought maybe if the group knew.
I don't know. Yeah, that might be something to ask in pottery groups online because I don't know at all. Yeah.
I don't know the wattage. I know that little Vivor that I got, and it was really cheap, like $140 or $150 or something. I mean, I'm working with a pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds. I mean, it could handle 5 pounds and it did not slow down.
Wow.
When
Okay.
I was trying to center it. I
Great.
did,
Yeah.
like I said, the pedal was a little not so great, but it took that easily.
That's great. That's
you
great.
know,
Okay.
So.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. All of you.
Yes, yes. Thank you for coming, everyone. And definitely just message me if you have any questions at all. And please do apply if you're even thinking about it. So, okay, I'll send out all the information. I'll send the recording. I'll send the information for the self-guided program, the application link. All that stuff will be in my email. Okay?
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to my cohort from last year, you guys, for coming. Thank you so much for coming and being here. Love you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Love you, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Look forward to the email.
Yay!